Remember, just have fun. If we absolutely needed to, we could edit anything that we need to edit.
Well, you don't edit?
No, I never edit.
Oh, no.
Well, if I keep this part in there too, hold on, I'm never editing. Welcome to another edition of Lifting with the Stars, and our guest today is the one and only Tari. I do have to say, so normally with these interviews, I'll send a list of questions to whoever I'm interviewing, and that's for two reasons. One, so they could feel more comfortable with, not feel so on the spot, right? And then two, if I don't like something that she has to say, we just don't do the interview altogether. Tari, it is a crime. Tari, what she sent me back in her email detailing our experience together is one of the absolute best testimonials I have ever received in my life. And I have to say, it would be a crime not to be able to share that. So somewhere I'm going to work this into where I can actually post this in its entirety. But I really appreciate everything that you had to say. And I appreciate you.
Well, thanks.
So what was the moment or experience that really motivated you to get started at Fit House?
Probably years of trying different things over and over and over and not seeing any results. And then watching my friend Marie on the video and talk about her experience and her journey. And I thought, oh, it's similar. She tried everything too. So I thought, why not? I tried everything, why not?
And she really has tried everything. Marie tried everything. I have to say, my favorite, if I had to pick a demographic that we excel with more than any, it's people who have tried everything and it just doesn't work. And the reason why we're so successful with those people, if they've literally tried everything and they're still trying, that means that they really, really care and they're putting in a lot of effort. But that's where I see people get discouraged, they get unmotivated, where they fall off, is when they're putting in effort and they're not getting out of it what they're putting into it. So I love when someone says to me, just like you said to me, I have tried everything, because I like to say, you haven't tried everything, and let me show you how we do things here. And when you first began, what specific things did you have in mind about your fitness journey? Like, what results did you want to see?
Well, I think the number one result I wanted to see was to lose weight. That was my main objective, to be able to fit into my clothes, but yet get stronger. I had a lot of health issues going on, and I didn't want to end up being like this fragile little old lady, right?
I understand 100%.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we dig a little deeper into those?
No.
Okay, so one thing that you said to me that you wrote down that really stuck out of my head is you always felt like you were 5 to 10 pounds overweight and thought you were fat.
Right.
And then you shared a little bit of a story. So you were trying everything, but then you had a traumatic, I can't think of another word to describe it than that,
right.
A very traumatic experience. Do you want to share that a little bit?
Sure. So I was that person who never had a problem with my weight. I was very active, but I was that person who always wanted to lose 5 or 10 pounds because I thought I looked fat. And then several years ago, I lost my 19-year-old son. He died in a freak accident. And that trauma, like, of course, wrecked me, but threw me into menopause at 45. And I had a couple medical issues that I don't know whether it was grief, the stress of all of that. I had a seizure. They put me on this medication. I gained 30 pounds immediately. I mean, in less than a month. I got off of that medication and thinking that that weight would just drop because I was off of that medication. It didn't. And so then I began this long journey of trying to lose that 30 pounds, and nothing had worked. You want me to go into everything that I tried? Like,
okay, here, I'll tell you what, let's talk about what you just talked about, and then we can talk about some of the things that you've tried. Some of the parallels that I think people can relate to. The always trying to lose 5 to 10 pounds. As we get older, we lose strength and we lose muscle. That starts about the age of 25. As you lose muscle, your metabolism slows down. And that's where you hear people in their like mid-20s to 30s, like, you know what? I'm not changing anything. I'm eating the same way I always ate. I'm doing the same things I always did. Why am I putting on 5 to 10 pounds that I can't lose? And then that just keeps building up year after year after year. And it never happens. It usually doesn't happen unless there's a traumatic experience, and we'll talk about that. It usually doesn't happen where all of a sudden, one year I put on 30 pounds. Then the next year I put on 30 pounds. It's more like every decade I put on 10 pounds. Then the next decade I put on another 10 pounds. But all of a sudden that's 20 pounds. And it's because your metabolism is slowly getting slower over time. But then there's also a traumatic experience. And you went through probably the most traumatic experience that I could possibly think of. Right. People go through all sorts of different, pregnancy is a traumatic experience. Pregnancy is a traumatic experience on your body. Grief is a tremendously traumatic experience on your body. Just the day-to-day life stress of raising a family, of going to work, just life is hard. That's a traumatic experience on your body. So now combine that traumatic experience with the fact that your metabolism's already lowering, and it's like just the recipe for disaster. And in your experience, it was a very acute event plus medication plus grief that caused it to happen so fast. But now you have this metabolism that's been so slowed down over the years that it just doesn't pick back up again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And one thing I see that in like most women is childbirth. I hear the same story all the time. I was always kind of around my goal weight. I would have liked to lose like 5-10 pounds. I had my first kid. Yeah, I lost the weight kind of right back doing the same thing. Then my second kid, they ruined me. They ruined my body. They didn't ruin your body. It was years of your metabolism slowing down plus that traumatic event. So I'd like to ask you, I do want to dig a little deeper. What is, you have tried everything. Tell us some of what you've tried.
So let's see. Right after that had happened, I joined a running group. And I needed to get out of my head, for sure. So I thought, oh yeah, running would be great. I did a little running here and there. So I joined a running group and was running a lot of miles. Like the highest I got up to, I was running 11 miles a day, which to me is unheard of. But as I continued with that, I would get done with like a 3-mile run and my stomach would be bloated. I actually got bigger from running. So now, I've now gained even more weight. Now I'm even more depressed. I tried.
Can we talk about that?
Yes.
I love, it's not often I meet somebody who, I usually warn people about this, but it's not often I actually get to meet somebody who went through it. And then maybe I know this will resonate with you a lot more. Long distance running, and especially running 11 miles a day, is a really awesome way to gain weight and get fat. And I know that goes counterintuitive to everything you would think, because I do have to say, it was really awesome if that was like a mentally relaxing thing for you, if you found that benefit out of it.
Yes.
Amazing. But then I would follow it up with saying that if you found some benefit mentally relaxing, but the rest of your day you felt fat and were depressed and feeling awful about that, then is it really that good?
Right, exactly.
If somebody ever wants to reach out to me, like on the side, and ask me about why running will get you fat, I'll get into the specifics about it. The best study I've ever seen, I think it was a 7-year study, and it was all long distance runners. So the goal of the study was at the end of 7 years, they all had to weigh the same, right? Mm-hmm. And they did. Mm-hmm. Here's how they did it. In order for them to all weigh the same at the end of 7 years, they had to keep increasing the mileage that they ran every day. Eventually, that mileage got towards unfathomable levels, just like you just said, higher than 11 miles a day. But imagine the amount of time commitment that is to doing that.
Right.
Coinciding with that, they had to reduce the amount of food they ate daily over time throughout those 7 years. So they had to increase the mileage way up, they had to lower the food way down. So by the end of the study, they're running obscene amounts of miles, they're eating hardly any amount of food, but they all weighed the same. But here's the interesting part. Their waist circumference was greater on every single person. So what does that mean? That means that they train their body to store fat and to lose muscle, so they completely shifted their body composition by the end of this. So they were fatter, less muscular, but weighed the same. Now, most people will never make it to that point, because think of what most people do, right? They're not going to go down to eating hardly any food at all. Eventually, something's got to give, but their metabolism's so in the gutter that it seems like anything they eat is just packing weight on their hips. And they're not just going to keep increasing, because you get to 11 miles a day. Are you going to start doing 12 miles a day, 13 miles a day, 14 miles a day, 15 miles a day? So most people never make it that far, but there's a really awesome study that just demonstrates what truly happens. And this goes back to why I like people who say, I've tried everything. If you tried that and it didn't work, but then you kept going, that means you really, really care.
I wanted it. I wanted to lose that weight and get back to my pre-trauma body.
So what else did you try after that?
I then joined a gym, and I did spin class, I did like a weightlifting class, I did kickboxing, whatever class they had, I did it. And I lifted some weights, but I really didn't know what I was doing. And then they gave you like a free session with the trainer there. So I did that, and the kid was younger than my own child, and I think they gave me just standard stuff and kind of treated me like I was like his grandma, probably, right?
Can I ask where this was, like, private? Well, yeah, okay.
So I did that, nothing, I just, I did all those classes, I walked.
You know what classes are? For real? Classes at like commercial gyms. They're code for people don't know what they're doing, so we're gonna get a bunch of people in the room and have them doing at least something. Even though it's not gonna give them results, they're gonna feel like they're doing something. There's usually a lot of camaraderie, there's a lot of motivation, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of excitement, like a feeling of belonging and a feeling of feeling comfortable. But that being said, there's no results to be seen.
No, I didn't see anything.
But I bet you worked your ass off, and you sweated your ass off. And like spinning class, this is, here's the thing. This is not an unpopular opinion. This is maybe you call it unpopular fact. A really great way for a woman to pack some fat on her ass and her hips, and not the good fat on your ass. But spin class is a really great way to gain some weight and pack some fat on your hips. And again, longer story for a different day. We will do some videos on that. But doesn't it go counterintuitive? Like, because you feel like I'm burning. Yeah. Like I should be feeling fat, burning.
Yes, exactly. Then I tried another gym where it was Formula 3 Fitness. You go in and you're in this little section and everybody does the same. It's like weight, it's like HIIT workouts. So at Christmas time, I joined for the 12 days of fitness. In those 12 days, I did keto and every day did the HIIT workout. I gained 13 pounds.
You know what?
And it was like, what is wrong with me?
Nothing's wrong with you. I have to, and I'm not going to just keep picking everything apart.
Right,
Clearly those things were not working.
No.
Nothing's wrong with you. I remember when I first called you on the phone, and I remember exactly, I was in my driveway, I was talking to you, walking up and down, it was nice outside, it was that time of year, and you told me that, and this is just me being honest. Either I thought, she's bullshitting me, like you weren't actually following your stuff, because quite honestly, majority of the time, if somebody says they're doing something, they're not really doing what they say they're doing. Or she is like my ideal client. She has truly tried everything. And if we could just give you the right direction for your effort, that you are going to absolutely flourish and do the most amazing job. And it turned out to be the latter versus the former, which is awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about what you did?
That was just exercise. I mean, I worked with every type of medical practitioner. I did Weight Watchers, I worked with a nutritionist for 30 days. I did a journal every day, exactly of what I ate. The nutritionist looked at my journal and said, oh, yeah, this is great. I don't see anything wrong with your diet. I don't know what you want from me. And it was like, I just did all of this work. So then the doctor sent me to Weight Watchers, which whatever. I mean,
I think I just rolled my eyes.
Everything I did. Everything that was supposed to work that you hear, this is great. HIIT workouts are great. Weight Watchers, whatever. None of it worked. And then and then you get in that mindset, okay, what's wrong with me then?
Right.
That none of these things work. Everybody else is doing it and everybody else is seeing success, but
Are they?
not.
You know what? That is a mystery to me. Is everybody seeing so much success? I was in charge of the personal training department at 2 large commercial gyms. And my mentor has opened up over 100 gyms across the US. So you don't just go and open it up. Like, you're there for years building it up. Well, maybe not years, because I would place him at 100 something years old. But you're there for months building it up, right? And I was talking to him and another mentor of mine. None of us have ever seen anyone actually get in shape in a commercial gym. Like, get in the shape they want to get in and keep it. What we see a lot, though, is maybe what you see a lot. Somebody's losing 5 to 10 pounds. Like, they join a gym. You can go join a gym, do anything, if we're talking about weight loss, and lose 5 to 10 pounds in a month or 2. You could go on any type of that. You could just stop drinking wine, put the wine down, lose 5 to 10 pounds, right? Invariably, people pick the wine back up, though. Mm-hmm. But I think in their head, they thought that if they would have continued just not drinking wine, or if they just continue going to the gym and doing whatever, all of a sudden, month 2, they would lose another 5 to 10 pounds, another 5 to 10 pounds. And they don't realize that that's only step A. Like, step A is getting your butt to the gym. You can do anything for a month and see results, but after that, it stops. Step A is putting down the wine, but after like a month or so of that stops. You're not going to continue seeing results. So I feel like people are constantly in this cycle where it's, okay, my friend is doing so great. She's doing this HIIT workout and she lost 10 pounds in blah, 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 blah. Okay, 8 months later, is she still down 10 pounds? Is she down another 5 pounds? Or is she in that perpetual yo-yo cycle back and forth? Right. So that's always funny to me because people, in my experience, usually ask the advice of other people who are in that yo-yo experience. They don't usually ask the advice of the people who burst through that and they actually made the long-term sustainable changes that they're too looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I might have cut you off. What were we talking about?
We were talking about all the things I tried. That was like nutrition part. I worked with a functional medicine doctor. I did acupuncture. I did yoga. Yeah,
when
like everything.
When you first started, without digging too deep into it, Tari could eat like nothing.
Mm-hmm, true.
And she had been through like the gauntlet. You have went everywhere. Oh, and then you know what else I got to say about that? Just to say how you said you've tried everything that everybody's just supposed to be doing, right? How's that working out for everybody? Because not for nothing, I don't feel like we have a society of Adonises. What's the female version? Athenas?
I'm not sure.
But I feel like everybody's not walking around with the health in the body that they truly want. So it's like, how well is that system actually serving us? But I remember when we first started, your nutrition, like you couldn't eat anything. You had so many GI issues. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. So since starting at Fit House, what are some of the most significant results you've seen both physically and mentally?
Well, I think physically, when I came in, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. Bad, like over, I think it's negative 3.0 it was like 3.3, something like that. I broke both of my arms in 2018. Had a bone density scan, I think during COVID or something like that. I didn't get my test results for like a couple of years. So prior to coming here, Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I switched doctors, don't worry. Yeah, she never gave me my test results. All so, right. And she said, you should have called because if you didn't get any results, you should have called to hear from us. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think it works that way. So anyways, that's another story. So I started...
Wait, you know what I love? Because this is one thing about our relationship too. And I'm thinking of a couple of people I train now who have expressed this to me within the last couple of months. You feel something's wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And you've told whoever you've hired in the past, like, there's something wrong. And then they tell you nothing's wrong. Like, I'm thinking of a guy that I train right now who just said to me the other day, there's nothing more frustrating. He had recovered from an injury, and there's nothing more frustrating than when he'll tell like a surgeon or a doctor, he'll be like, hey, I feel like I'm having this problem. And they say, no, you're not having that problem. And to me, like, that's the most annoying thing in the world, because if you're truly experiencing something, there's an answer. And one thing that I pride myself on is I might not always have the answer, but I have a big toolbox full of a lot of tools and a lot of experience. And if we put those together through educated trial and error, we can usually find an answer. And we'll talk about that because we've come up with a lot of answers for you as time went on.
I think when you go through the trauma that I have had, just trying to navigate through that journey of grief alone, I mean, it's not only an emotional journey, it's physical, because grief is physical. Your heart is literally broken. I know my gut issues stem from that, you know. They say grief affects your lungs. That's where it settles in your body. I wasn't eating, I couldn't eat, you know, and then it just kept going deeper and deeper. But so then I was on my own journey to figure that out and try to figure out how to do this. So I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my body, and I knew something was wrong. I would do research. I would go see a practitioner and say blah, 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 blah. And they would look at me like I was crazy, you know, so.
I understand, I understand personally as well.
Yep.
Okay, so we're talking about results you've seen. So in terms of osteoporosis, you told me some exciting news a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so since I've been here lifting, I had a DEXA scan again, and the doctor is absolutely amazed because I went from osteoporosis at a 3-something all the way back down to osteopenia, which, yes, I did injections for a year, but they said you don't get those type of results just from that medication. I'm now on 6 months injections, but the doctor was like, no, continue lifting what you're doing and going to the gym because I'm back to normal.
Which is awesome.
Right.
I mean, look, those are like virtual. The reason your doctor was caught so off guard is I don't know anybody actually who turns those results around the way that you turn those results around.
Right.
I love what you just said. She said to the effect of continue what you're doing. Lifting weights is not just lifting weights. And there's a very specific way that you're doing things now that are different than HIIT class or different than group classes. Like a dumbbell is a dumbbell, right? But what you do with the dumbbell and how you progress with that over time, that's the magic and what gets you the results that we've been getting. What about mentally as well? You mentioned about your outlook on your physical ability at age 61.
Yeah, my mental health is amazing. I mean, I could barely walk when I came in here. I couldn't sleep because my body just hurt. You know, I was in pain all the time, and I didn't take any medication. I didn't do that. And I guess I'm amazed that my body doesn't hurt after all we're doing here.
Yeah, okay, so.
It's phenomenal.
Because I remember you said to me, you're like, if I can't walk now, what am I going to be like when I'm 70 years old?
Exactly.
We do group training, but I really strive. One thing I pride myself on is, I'm going to brag about myself a little bit. Is that okay? I feel like I'm always still like I never share. I run our group training like we were doing one-on-one training. It's the closest thing you're going to get to one-on-one training without actually doing one-on-one training. So when Tari first started, yeah, you could barely walk. I had Tari, I mean, it might have been 3 months. We were doing just foundational things that were very specific to Tari. She was doing completely different than the rest of the group was doing because she had all these imbalances that needed to build up stronger. And then I remember specifically when we got to the point where I was going to have you do the same workout as the group, I was razzing you and give you the hardest time about like you've been hiding your true colors this whole time because all of a sudden, she was just lifting so strong, like doing squats with a bar on your back. And it wasn't because it was, your overnight success was an overnight success built off of what you've been doing, working your butt off for the last 3 months. But it was really cool because we started to bridge that gap of your effort level and your body being caught up to speed and building the foundation of your body. And it's such a joy now to see how far you've come from barely being able to walk to, you're right. You're in the top 1%. I will tell you unequivocally, 99.9%, so it's the top 0.1%, 99.9% of 61-year-old women could not do what Tari's doing. And you know what? Honestly, 99% of 60-year-old women could probably care less about being able to squat with a bar on their back, being able to do the hack squats you did today, being able to do a chin up. But you know what I bet they would care about? I bet they would care about building a metabolism and losing some fat and feeling better in their clothes. I bet you they would care about their body being in less pain every day. I bet you they would care about being able to walk around and being mentally, sexually, functionally viable, like as life goes on, and being able to enjoy their 60s and their 70s and their 80s and not become like a decrepit, slowly falling apart, bitter version of themselves as time goes on. But that's the truth, right? And the secret is because of what Tari's doing, those things just represent her knees are getting stronger, her lower back's getting stronger, her abdominal's getting stronger, her back's getting stronger, her rotator cuff's getting stronger, her metabolism's getting more robust. That's the path you need to take. And unfortunately, there's only one way to do it. And I'm not going to mince words on this. As you get older, sarcopenia and dynapenia, that's the loss of strength and the loss of muscle, they are the two biggest predictors of mortality. Everybody has something in their genes. There's a doctor who said this once, and I really like what he said. As you lose strength and muscle as you age, your defenses are down, so you're more open to whatever you have in your genes is going to get you. Could be diabetes, could be heart disease, could be like dementia, brain problems, right? But whatever it is, as those defenses go down, you're more open to that. So if you want to have a longer, more functional life where your body can keep moving and you're not going to get whatever disease is in your genes, or at least protect yourself against that as much as possible for as long as possible, build strength, build muscle. Secondly, if you want any hope of losing body fat and having a nice robust metabolism as you age, build muscle, build strength. That's it. And I saw this thing the other day. This is unrelated, but I want to share it with you anyways. I'm reading a book, and it was talking about, you know what the best decade of your life is, according to the book? Just take a guess. Take a guess.
I would say 30s.
Okay, it says your 80s. Do you know what it says your second best decade? 70s.
Really?
Third best? 60s.
Huh.
And this is what it said, and this is why I thought of this right now. If you know somebody who's 80 years old, they are either one of two things, invariably. Either they are the most curmudgeon-y, bitter, just energy-draining, sucking vampire person that you just want to get away from when you're around them, or they are the most gracious, kind, like compassionate, present, just happy to be sitting in a room across from you and talking to you in person. They're usually one of those two. And I always think to myself, like, why does that happen over time? And I think part of it is experience in life and mentally.
Right.
But also, I always see when people, you can literally pinpoint the moment in their lives. Like for COVID, for a lot of people, that was the beginning of the end for them. That was the end of their life, like the last time they're ever going to fit in a certain size jean. And then every year, I'm in a descriptive mood today. Every year, if they try to put that same pair of jeans on, their belly is spilling over those jeans a little more and a little more. Eventually, they have to retire them. And when they wake up in the morning, their energy levels are down. They don't feel good. They feel depressed about the way they look. They're like, you become like a lesser version of yourself. You lose your vitality. You lose your drive. And then eventually, imagine if you're waking up every day, like your joints hurt, you just feel awful. Like how cheerful are you going to be around your kids? How cheerful are you going to be around your coworkers? How much of a zest are you still going to have for life?
That was me at one point.
It ain't you anymore.
No. Like, I didn't know how I was going to move forward. I mean, I have two little granddaughters now, and I thought, how am I gonna run around and be the grandma I wanna be when I can barely walk? So,
Yeah,
and always in pain, so.
It's so weird because, okay, I feel like the 90s were all about, just like societal as a norm, right? The 90s were all about lose weight, get skinny, right? Then I feel like the 2000s completely went the opposite way. It's like, weight doesn't matter, like, just focus on health, right? I think, isn't the real answer the two of those melded together? Because if your body is at your healthiest on the inside, your body on the outside is also gonna reflect that.
Right.
And I feel like that's like the biggest win for like everybody, right? Is if the zest for life and the joy and the energy and the gregariousness and like everything you feel on the inside is also reflected on the outside, and those two are brought together. Isn't that the ultimate win?
Right. I agree.
All right. We had some nutritional challenges when we first started. You could barely eat anything. You shared a little bit about that. Can you share a little bit about the experience of working with Gina on your nutrition and also myself on the protocols that we did?
Yeah. So, I can't remember, did we start with Gina first or did we do the protocol?
Oh, we detoxed first.
It was traumatic in and of itself. Oh my God.
Everyone says the same thing to me about the detox. They say, oh, I've done a ton, everybody's done a detox. I've done a detox. Okay, I didn't make up this detox. I learned, this is how I learned about this detox. There were some certifications that I was taking in the Dominican Republic. The detox was invented by one of the top functional medicine doctors in the world. I learned it from them there. It is something, it's one of the most effective tools I have in my toolbox. Everyone always rolls their eyes at me, because people have been trained for years to detox, right? Then they've been trained that detoxes are bullshit. Like, you're not gonna see. And the truth is, like, those detoxes are bullshit, but the one that you did was not bullshit. Can you tell us a little bit about the results of your experience?
So, I did 2 detoxes, did I not?
We did the detox and we did GI.
Oh, okay, the GI one. Well, the detox, I couldn't leave my house. It was bad. Like, I've done detoxes before, but Christy always said, oh no, you've never done this detox, and I never have. So my results were great. It took a while to get there, to get through that, but I think I lost 8 pounds in the week that I did it, but my eyes weren't swollen, my face wasn't swollen, my gut felt better. I'm really able to eat more foods now than I did before.
Yeah, and that was, okay.
I was sleeping better. Oh my God, sleeping was wonderful.
In the past, you don't know what you don't know. And what I mean by that is, the experience you shared earlier of the personal trainer at the gym giving you that workout, right? You don't know what you don't know. I'm sure he or she was doing their absolute best job with what they knew, but there's levels to this, right?
Right.
Okay. In the past, when I did not know what I know now, I would have rolled my eyes at a detox, and I would have told you, and I did roll my eyes when I heard this for the first time, only it came from a source that I respected so much, I was more open to listening. I would tell you, listen, Tari, doing cayenne pepper and water or whatever bullshit, like, none of it's gonna do anything. You're gonna lose some weight in a week, and then you're gonna just put it back on. It's just because you're not eating, that's why you're gonna lose weight. The only reason you're feeling better is because you're gonna stop eating some crap and start eating more vegetables through the course of a week. So your body actually gets some nutrients, some vitamins, some minerals, so you're gonna feel a little better. But the whole thing of it being a detox is just absolute BS. Your body has organs that detox you. Here is the problem with that thought and where I was wrong. We are so overwhelmed with toxins on a daily basis. Whether they be environmental, whether they be from our food, whether they be things that we do to ourselves in terms of the skincare products that we use, different shampoos. I feel the average woman, I think, and I could look this up, I know where to look it up, but it was something almost 100 different toxins on her body for products they use before you leave the house in the morning.
Wow.
So what the detox does, the main goal of the detox that you did, is it, one, stops you from putting in a lot of the toxins that you're putting in.
Right.
it helps the machinery in your body that naturally detoxes itself, because we get so overwhelmed, it helps it start up and running again optimally. And then it also, and this is the unpleasant part of the detox, it helps your body, is excrete an appropriate word? It helps your body, get rid of like literally toxic gunk buildup that is stuck in your body. So the whole goal of it is not weight loss, but everybody always loses weight that stays off at the end of the detox. And it's the only way to look at it is just toxic gunk or fat that your body has been unable to let go of because of the buildup of that toxicity in your body. And it's one of those things where like the health effects after, like think about what you just said, like the inflammation. I would have never believed it if I didn't do it myself. And I like it so much, I do it multiple times a year. But I did it for the first time at 39 years old. And if you would have told me that I would have seen the health benefits, the energy benefits, like the inflammation benefits, I always had this little like, I don't know what you call it, like a fupa down here, right? No matter how lean I got, there's always be like this little where it looked like bloated. It wasn't fat, I didn't know what it was. At 39 years old, for the first time in my life, I was able to get rid of that. So I would have never believed it if I didn't do it myself. I believe in it so much, and for you, with everything you had going on, that was one of the most important things I wanted you to start with. And the GI protocol was another one. You told me the same thing. You did GI protocols in the past. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
So I did the elemental diet, which is a powder, like a protein mix, but it was all hypoallergenic. I did that for 28 days. It was shakes 3-4 times a day. That's all I ate for 28 days. I lost 24 pounds in those 28 days. But as soon as I started introducing foods back in, it just came back on. I was eating baby food to start. That's no way to live, right?
Well, is that really a result? Like,
right,
because you could stop eating right now.
Yes.
Don't eat for a week, right? You're going to lose some weight.
Right.
You're going to have to start eating again. So is it really a result, or is it kind of just...
Yeah, I was so excited to lose that weight, thinking, yes! And figured I would keep it off because the same thing. I thought it was all this gunk and whatever. No, it was simply the fact that I wasn't eating. It wasn't really getting rid of anything.
And then what happened when we did the GI protocol together? Because you went from being able to eat like no foods before we started. You were having reactions to virtually everything that you ate.
Yeah, I was having like major stomach pain after I ate. Like after the GI protocol, I was able to eat more foods. And I think that's when I started with Gina. And then Gina had, me eating more food and really giving me more information. Like, I was a clean eater. I still am a clean eater. I really don't eat a lot of sugar. I don't really drink alcohol. I don't do dairy. I don't do a lot of things. So I couldn't understand why I was still continuing to, gain this weight, but...
Then we did the GI protocol.
Yeah.
You got synced up with Gina.
Yeah.
And I know, like, there were no secret foods you didn't know about already, but I know working with Gina, she shared with you a lot of different strategies.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, you started losing weight.
Yeah.
You just had way more energy. Like, you came to life. Like, it was nice to see you come to life.
Right.
And you started seeing all of those results.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make up the GI protocol. There's another one. I learned it from a functional medicine. I consider myself a seeker of knowledge, Terry. So I've traveled to many different places around the US or the world to get different certifications that just people in the area don't have. But I don't make it up. Does that make sense?
Right.
But I believe that there's answers to every problem. We just might not know the answer. So one thing I try to do with my knowledge is like fill up my toolbox with as many tools as possible. So when I meet somebody like yourself, I could say, okay, you know what? Based on everything you're describing to me, I really think this is a great starting point for us. Let's see how it goes.
Right.
And then we see results, like, okay, I think this is the greatest step too.
Yeah.
And then we just keep moving forward. And it was so nice to see you just come to life and start to see results from the fruits of your labor.
Right. It was nice to be able to share the things that not only I tried, and some of the things that I knew was happening, and you never discounted it. Whereas I would go to a medical professional and they would look at me like I was crazy, or they would want to prescribe a medication, and I'm like, but that doesn't get to the root of the issue. Whereas you were like, okay, let me check into that, and then you come up with something.
Can I thank you for something? One, yes, I agree 100%. Can I thank you for something right now?
Sure.
I don't want this to come off in an ego way. So tell me if it does, because
okay.
I want it to come off. But you were about to say professional, and then you changed it to medical professional. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes somebody uses the word personal trainer, and everybody's the same. So
yeah.
The personal trainer at Crunch Fitness is the same as my mentor, who's a trainer, and one of my mentors, he'll only train Olympic athletes, and the amount of knowledge and the amount he charges is just absolutely phenomenal. But it's worth the investment to me. Every month I work with him and I learn more tools from my toolbox that I can share with people.
Right.
So there's this whole continuum in the middle. But I think sometimes everybody thinks everybody's on an equal playing field. So it makes me, in my head, it's a little ding sometimes. He's like, well, my trainer at the Y told me that I should be eating this and I should be doing this, so I'm going to do this. And sometimes I can't even bother. So I don't know, how did that come off? Did that come off?
I get what you're saying, but I guess I switched it to medical professional because if you think about it, when you're sick, you go to a doctor and you're thinking they're the expert and they should have all of these answers, right? In Western medicine.
I agree 100%.
I have learned that is not the case.
I have learned, and maybe you can relate to this, is you have to take your health into your own hands.
Yes, absolutely.
So you need to find a doctor who is on the same page as you, yes, who listens to you, and who is not giving you antiquated advice. And I think it's the same thing with everything. And you said something earlier about how hard it is to try to navigate your way through the waters. It's really hard to try to navigate your way through the waters. And I can't tell you, like me personally as well, I've had a lot of different things in my life, similar to your GI issues or detox or whatever it is, where it has taken me decades to actually learn an answer. And I was discounted so many times from medical professionals telling me, no, there's nothing wrong with you, or you should do the equivalent of like Weight Watchers or whatever it is. So I think it's really important. Here's a better way to say what I was saying earlier. I think it's really important to build a team. Yeah. I always like working with somebody who has a really great doctor that's like helping them in that part of the relationship. And then I can help you in the part of the relationship in terms of our physical, in terms of training, in terms of nutrition, right? And then it's like you build a support team for yourself, and then you have that team, and there's a power in a team. And I always love communication between that team too, because I think everyone in the team should be on the same page. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, okay, I got a guy I train in the morning, right? His doctor told him he should never lift his arm up over his head again. Like he should never, okay, so you should never lift any weight up over his, you should never do anything like this ever again in his life. And quite frankly, his arm was causing him pain to do that. So it took us, I would say, dedicated work, well over a year, I would say. Okay, so now he can press a bar over his head, no problem. And it's not that I care that he can press a bar over his head. It's now in life, his shoulder is so much stronger. So he's in his early 70s. His shoulder is so much stronger and so much more stable and functional that he could take what we're building in here and go take it outside and actually enjoy it in life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that's like the orthopedic told me I would never do a push-up again.
Yeah. Okay.
After I broke my arms.
Yeah, one guy I trained, he's never supposed to do a lunge again in his life, as he was just doing lunges pain-free and doing like but again, it's what is somebody's specialty? Right. So I'm not an orthopedic surgeon. I'm not going to give you orthopedic surgery advice, but so too it usually goes the other way. In my experience, most orthopedic surgeons will not give you the best actual training advice in terms of how to rebuild and how to get yourself stronger. Right. They send you to physical therapy, right? Which is great. Physical therapy is like pre-K. So, no, it is, but that's good because
Yeah,
if you just had surgery, like you're starting at a pre-K level for whatever that is. And then you build it up from pre-K to kindergarten, but it's when it's time to graduate physical therapy, it's like, okay, you're off to elementary school. And then this is where elementary school begins. And like when we started, you weren't in pre-K, but you were close.
Yeah,
and so when we started elementary school and we built up through elementary school and then we built up through middle school and now like you and I are in high school together and your prom's coming up. So with prom coming up.
Gotta fit my dress.
Yeah, you know what? What a perfect leeway. But before I ask you about your goals for the future, though, I want to ask you, like, what makes Fit House different for you, like, versus other places that you've trained in the past?
So, like I said before, with that one trainer at the commercial gym, I mean, he gave me a workout that, you know, I could come in on a Saturday and saw all the other little old ladies doing the same workout, right? So when I came here, just like you said, I was kind of pre-K. So you gave me those exercises to build up, to be able to work and train with the other people in the gym, and we are all doing, you know, the same thing. So that's different. You listened to me, which is different, like, and you were able to look at me and know exactly what I needed to do as far as strength training. When you told me to do a squat, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do a squat. And you were like, okay. And then you started making me do the step ups, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? I can do a squat. I couldn't do a squat.
You know, you have this expression, it's something effectively you hate in others what you see in yourself or what you saw in yourself.
Right.
I used to be, when I first started training, I used to be the trainer that you described earlier. And I used to be the person who I would have put you under a bar and have you start squatting when I first started training. But as I've learned and as I've gotten more experience and different certifications, like that would be so terribly irresponsible of me to do. And I think because I truly care about what I do and all the people that I work with, I'm ashamed of those early years of me training. And I strive so much to do better for you, for all of my clients. And when I see somebody who's going down the wrong path, and I know they're going down the wrong path because I was part of that in the past, it really, really bugs me, and I feel a responsibility to step in and say something and steer them on the right way, whether they're open-minded at that moment in time or not, in order to come to the path that shall lead to the fruition of goals.
It's also nice to be able to come in here and you give us the plan and you're working with a partner and you're learning though too. I'm not just coming in here and thinking, okay, what am I doing today? What should I do today? You have it all mapped out for us, which is wonderful.
Thank you. And one thing I always try to do is I want to teach you as well. What you're just saying, because and this is just me, but I feel like if you ever ask me a question of why we're doing something and I can't give you an answer, don't do it. So I always want to teach as well, because I feel like if you understand why we're doing what we're doing and what result it's going to achieve, there's more of a mental buy-in. You get more excited. That's me as a person, right? If I know why what I'm doing is going to give me yay result, oh my God, I'm going to be so on board with that. And then it's like, boom, let's do it. So I always try to do it as well, so you understand the why behind what we're doing and not just coming in and, okay, I just do boom, 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 boom.
Right. I know, like I have a vacation coming up. I'm going to work out while I'm on vacation. I know that I can walk into a gym and I know what I need to do.
I love it. All right, now we're going to go to the future.
Okay.
Oh, one more question. How has your fitness journey changed the way you view yourself and your self-esteem? Like, how's it changed your relationship with yourself?
I like myself a lot better. I feel energized. I know that the future looks so much better because I'm stronger. I'm getting healthier. I can run around with my granddaughters now and not, you know, I'm not going to be that frail little old lady. when I'm 80.
I love it.
Yeah.
So coming up, what are your goals moving into, let's say summer and fall? What are your goals going in towards the summer and the fall?
So now that I think, I have a good foundation as far as strength and stuff, because that's really what we worked on was, gut issues and being able to eat again and getting stronger. Now I really want to focus on fat loss and getting leaner.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And you have lost fat and you have gotten leaner.
Yep.
I love what Tari just said because it's all levels. So we started at a certain level, call it pre-K, whatever, right? We started at a certain level. Nutritionally and physically, you have built such a foundation and you're building such health, and we still have work to go.
Right.
But you're hitting a point where your foundation is so much stronger and so much better, where we can really start accelerating with more body composition, like building muscle, losing fat, and I can't wait to see you take off with it this summer.
Same.
Awesome.
Same.
Thank you very much for your time. I sincerely hope so. Terry's friend Marie sat down and did an interview with me, and it was that interview that Tari saw that sparked it within her to reach out. And now a year later, we're sitting here and talking about all these amazing successes.
Yeah.
I really hope that this interview sparks that same desire within one person who reaches out to me and says, you know what? I saw that interview you did with Tari, and that inspired me to take this step and to make a start. And Tari, what advice would you have to say to that one person out there who's listening? Hopefully more than one people are listening. But what advice would you say to that one right person who's listening, who's thinking about taking that next step?
I would say just start. I mean, the longer you prolong it, the worse you'll feel. I feel so good now. I never thought I could feel like this because I thought it was the age thing. And I thought, this is what 61 feels like. I wouldn't wait. I would just call Chris and start.
I gotta tell you what, the way you felt when we first started, that is what 61 feels like for the majority of people. This is what 61 should feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much for your time. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. And Tari, we're looking forward to all your future successes.
Same.
Take care.
I think we need to talk about how I was eating clean, but Gina pushed it further. Like the olive oil thing just blew my mind. But the other thing was the fat part. Like she's like,
well, tell us about the olive oil thing first.
Okay.
What happened with olive oil?
So.
Oh, did you not know we're recording?
No, I didn't.
we added this as an addendum because the second we finished, Tari said about how great the experience of doing with Gina, nutrition with Gina was, and we said we got to sit back down and give Gina her due credit.
Right. So starting with Gina, it was protein fat. So she's giving me all these ideas for fat, and she talked about olives, and so I told her I had no problem with eating olives. So I was buying the variety pack or whatever you call it from Wegmans, the little olive bar. And I was just feeling so sick. Every time Gina and I would get together, I would be like, no, I can't do that. I'm just feeling so sick. She would go through everything I ate. I would send her the pictures and everything. She finally said to me, where are you getting your olives from? And I told her, and she's like, you know what, that could be rancid olive oil. And I'm thinking, isn't rancid olive oil, wouldn't I be able to taste that? And she said, no. So I cut those out and started buying organic olives, olive oils, and that was it. And I was amazed because I eat organic already, but she pushed it further, made me think more about things. Another thing was, cook your food in fat. So I was eating turkey burgers, and she's like, that's pretty lean, you need more fat. She's like, cook it in bacon grease. And I'm like, I can have bacon? I can have bacon? I thought bacon fat was bad. So there was a lot of things Gina taught me that moved me forward.
Gina knows her stuff.
She does.
And okay, this is a mystery to me. Maybe you could help me with this. All right, Gina knows her stuff. Gina's somebody who before in Gina was overweight her whole life. And then she made like a big turnaround in her mid-20s. But it's always a marvel to me. I can't tell you how many times now this is outside of Fit House, just like in our personal life. Somebody's talking about they want to lose weight, or somebody's talking about they're doing like all the programs you mentioned earlier. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm just staring and I'm like, why don't you ask Gina? Like she's sitting right there, but then nobody ever will pipe up and be like, hey Gina, let me ask you this. Instead, they ask their friend who's also trying to lose whatever, 15 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever it is, and who's not succeeding. Why is that, Terry? Tell me the answers. I want to know.
Gina knows her stuff. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, Gina like lives this.
Yeah.
We're training. I love nutrition, but my training is like my passion. So I live it and breathe it 24/7. Like this is all I read about. It's just because I love it so much. Gina is like that with nutrition, with toxic-free lifestyle, with just healthy living. She, like if she's on her phone, she's not doom scrolling, she's learning new information. And it's always a joy for me because she teaches me a lot of new things on a day-to-day basis as well. So thank you, Gina.
Thanks, Gina.